Good morning, YouTubers, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from around the world. Today we start on the yard arm sales. Got this one here on the bowsprit we're going to do first because it's like a little bit of an oddball. You can see how the yard arm hangs off the bowsprit and all the ropes. So first thing we want to do is sew this sail onto the yard. And over here at the bench, we'll put this in there and we'll put it where the pulleys are facing the bow of the ship, and these standing ropes are facing down. So we'll put the sail behind these pulleys. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 pulleys that we'll want to be so if we sew it on like that, I'm looking at a side view here. That looks like the foot rope bar, that little black thing. So the foot rope bar and the pulleys are going to be on the inside facing the bow. And these cleats it looks like the cleats face toward the tip of the bowsprit. That's the yard arm right there. You can't really see the cleats though, but you can see how it's attached to the yard arm. So I'm going to use white thread for all these to match the other that we did back here. We'll sew it on like that. And then we'll use the tan thread for the running rigging. So I got to get all my stuff set up to do that. And where my white thread is, I got to get everything staged and ready here. Alrighty then, we got her all sewed up. That wasn't too bad. And we got some lines pre-installed on these spots that they need. So you've got one tie point there. going to go up through a pulley and then back to the deck. Another tie point here that goes in two directions, one to the pulley and back to the deck, and the other off the corner back to the deck. So these in the front are going to be for the yard arm. So now, say good morning, Mufasa. Good morning. Now, time to tie this baby on here. And according to the big drawing, ties on just below, no, just above. Just above is where these guys are at. Oh, they're, and it goes up here according to the drawing. So this main rope here will tie it off. We got to figure out a way to hold that baby. Might set up my alligator clip stand. Alrighty, the inside one here. I just put a little glue on the end of these. So the corner one goes all the way over here. This other one that sail's in the way. I want to go in the back. Come out the front. Now go over to the deck somewhere. Haven't figured that out yet. Now I haven't glued this corner because I wasn't sure on my length here. Go all the way to that pulley. Yeah, that should be enough. So I guess I want to pre-tie this because I just sewed it through there twice. Not knowing the length until I got up here on the ship. This knot will make hopefully both tails face in the right direction. So now this one is going to be through that pulley right there. Which isn't very accessible. And figures I went over the top of the first one. I should probably be underneath it. Hopefully that's long enough. And this other one, $7.91, I'm sure it's going to go up here somewhere too. So, before we do the other side, we'll just do $7.91 first, because that's out here. No, I should probably do this one first, because it's inside. I don't want to do something outside and it be in the way when I try to do the inside. So that one, it's labeled over here $7.92. Now for the bow, $7.92. Oh, where are you tonight? There's $7.91. That looks like it goes to the post there near the anchor holder. Where is $7.92? Oh, $7.92 goes to the baling pin rack. We haven't tied one in that corner, have we? No. $7.92 on both front corners of the baling pin rack. I'm looking at the other side over here to my left to make sure I'm not tangled up with anything. And there's going to be a little bit of a tension issue here because this is tied to the bottom of the sail. We don't want to pull up on it too much as we tie this knot. Somewhere about there, which means I'm making sure that the yard arm is perpendicular to the bowsprit, because as I pull on this, it's going to try to twist it a little bit. And to get this where it's not going to move too much, so we can do our loop. So create that loop. It needs to be a little bigger. And turn it upside down. Get it over that post and then get it in the glue a little bit. So I want to put a clamp on it. So it'll create a little bit of tension while it dries. Good luck with that. Oh my goodness. I guess right there will hold it so it can dry. And that looks pretty good. Okay, now the next one, inside there. $7.93. Where does $7.93 go? There's $7.91. $7.92 we just tied off on that corner. So there's another $7.92 for the other side that we'll tie off after we get those run. Now where is $7.93? Doesn't look like it's on the baling pin rack. There it is, right above $7.91. So that goes to a cleat on the deck. Right there. So before we tie that, let's get a little dab of glue on that cleat. Pulling the slack out of that before I tie. That thing's in the way. No idea how long I want it there. Hold it on this side and try to get a couple wraps. Before I do the upside down knot, now I want to check over here to make sure this is about the right tension. And it's pulling up on there. Sail's perpendicular. I think I'm going to leave it at that position. And then try to get our loop here. There, see how it's laying that way? Now I just got to tuck it over and pull it tight. I keep checking over to my left just to make sure that's a good length. I think it's just fine. So that takes care of that one. Now the last one was 791, which is the far tail. We already found that one, goes to the beam that the anchor is tied to. So that'll be easy. Other than the stuff, all these other beams in the way. Here again, to make it where you don't have too much trouble, put a little glue, preferably on the back side. Check your length and tension. Try to get one wrap, minimum of one wrap. Oop. I keep playing with the adjustment of the tension over on the sail because there's 3 lines and they're not all tight. I guess it's not going to be too easy to make them all tight either with the sail flopping down on the bottom. And get our loop. And then try to fold that over. Making sure I'm perpendicular with the bowsprit. When we do the other side, we're going to try to duplicate this. The way this sail looks on the bottom. Before I turn it around, probably going to want to go ahead and do the rigging on this side for the yard arm, we got rigging that goes from the pulley here, here to the end pulley and back. A tie-off point. Yeah, we got a tie-off point on the bowsprit. Go to the yard arm, then back to this pulley, and then 790 back to the deck. And then another line over on this one going through this eyelet, like a permanent tie-off point. We got some bearing looking things up here. I may use one of them bearings and do both sides at the same time. And then we're gonna have to pre-tie a block on the end of that line that goes through that eyelet, so we can have a separate line that ties off on this divot. Good grief. So I'm going to go ahead and on the bench pre-tie a block on both ends of that one rope, and then make it long enough where I can do a loop knot up here at the point, and then have that ready for both sides, and that'll help secure this from flopping around. You know, and when there's too much slack in one of these, you can just make another wrap around the cleat or the post, but we're not going to play with those until we get all of them done, and then we look at it and say, oh, this one's got too much slack, and we'll have to change it a little bit at the other end. So that's my next plan of attack while I'm getting ready to turn the ship around. We got to do this other stuff first. Okay, we got a lot of those run. This one here, I had to open up the back where I had that knot tied on there with a needle, and then I stuck my needle, the thread thing through where the needle was, and grabbed my rope and pulled it through, and then tied a knot on the bottom using that spot on the top as a holding point. So there's two ropes tied around that block. And now that permanent tie point is on the bottom of the block. Got to go through see if I go through the bottom of this one. No, I got to go through the top. That way I come out on the right side to tie this off on the cleat over here. That other rope's in the way. that in there. There we go. That'll hold it back out of the way. Let's see if you can see that cleat that I'm tying to. A little bit too much on the front there, but casualty of war. See if we can go around again. Okay, there's 2 times around. Now we got to do the upside down knot, and we want to make sure the slack is pulled out of this. Still too much slack in there. Trying to get this one to pull straight. That's better. Now we got 2 times around. There's our awkward, awkward. There's our upside down loop knot. We let that dry. So I think after that dries we can cut it, but I think that is it. That's the one we just did. The other side's already done. Those I got done. I think that is it for this sail. I had those on there to hold the yard arm at a spot that sort of kept the equal tension on both sides. I'm going to try to turn this around here. too close here. This one here has got too much slack in it. So I was wondering if I could go around the back of that. My tweezers are not cooperating. Now that'll work for the tension that I wanted back on this front. But we got to get that lower or it's going to fall off like that. There we go. Now I'll put a little dab of glue back there. Okay. So the foot ropes are a little sloppy, but you don't want to make them too tight. There's usually two guys out there walking on these. If you make them too tight, then it pulls up to the top of or the bottom of the yard arm. I'm just looking at my angle here. There's so many ropes. It's hard to make them all taut, especially when you got a little flappy sail on the bottom. But I think that's the look I'm looking for. Few tails to cut off on the other side there, but the first yard arm is done. Oh boy, each one of these is going to be similar to this with its complexity. I'm over here looking at the next few I want to start on, and I said, oh my gosh, we got 1, 2, 3 blocks that are going to be just for the sail tie points. I got to figure out which mast this is compared to that one, because this one's different. Or it's probably a likeness of Yeah, I think that's going to be the same thing, only now we're doing different functions. Because we got a pulley on the corner, and we're not showing any hooking to it over here, but over here they are. All the corners are being tied. So along with these, we got to do these for each sail and yard arm. And I think that's the rear mast, because the rear mast doesn't have a sail on the bottom. So now I'm looking for the supports that go to the top of the yard arm. Oh yeah, here it is. So you saw those sets there, and then the little pulley on the corner set there for each sail, and then the yard arm itself on the top part gets tied off, and there's a detail for the middle, and this detail is for the ends. So man, oh man, oh man, oh man. I imagine this is the bottom yard arm. This would be the middle, the bottom there, the bottom there. So this is going to be the three different masts. Probably the main mast, foremast, and the rear mast. But each one of the yard arms is going to have supports to support the arm itself, along with all the ropes that go to the sail to control the sail. And there should be some other ones too. Yeah, over here. This is so they can twist the yard arm to catch the wind at an angle. Because when they pull down on one of those, it's going to draw the arm over toward one side or the other. So good grief, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of control for each of the yard arms. Man, oh man, oh man, are we in trouble.